this particular podcast. I think it was Knockin Hard. That's what it was. And I'm joined here with Jack Hawthorne. Jack and I, we go way back. It's been a journey, that's for sure. Let's do this because this is going to go out to a lot of people that probably don't know you, and even some of them might not know me and just kind of like know a partnership or something like that. So if you were needing to introduce yourself and like, hey, who's Jack Hawthorne? What would be your intro?
Sure. So I am the Chief Revenue Officer at a third-party administrator, or TPA, called Clearwater Benefits. I'm also a business consultant for usually executive sales teams and kind of work across several different industries. I've been doing that for almost 15 years now. Background in legal, real estate, and then healthcare, because that's the natural flow, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. My passion and honestly, like damn near my religion is small business. I love it, and
Yeah.
so it's what gets me excited.
No, that's awesome. I love how you always kind of gloss over this point. This is what Jack never says. Jack is an attorney who
Recovering
got
attorney.
bored of being an attorney, became a recovering attorney. So law degree, and then also probably one of the best sales guys I know. Not trying to toot your own horn. You have so many flaws; they can't even be all,
It's just staggering.
stated. You also can't even say them online because uh, you know, the
Problem.
authorities. But otherwise,
That's so flattering. I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
no, great guy. So that's enough of the flattery, though. But so I wanted to talk about one particular area, but I guess before I really, I don't know, mention anything in that like main topic area. So why did you go from recovering attorney, you went to law school for years, obviously, to
Mhm.
get that sheepskin. And then you went from that to real estate and then dove into health. That's
Yeah,
like you obviously reverse alluded to. That's the weirdest journey I think I've ever heard.
yeah, it's strange. Um, so the short version, right, is that I love the sport of business. It's fun to me, right? Like I remember my first hustle was uh, Pokemon cards, like in the fourth and fifth grade, right? Like trading them up and piling, going selling to a local shop and doing whatever. I was making like $400 a week as a sixth grader, and got in trouble with school because we ended up making like a black market for it. But I love like just the side of business of doing things. And when I was in undergrad, I was a welder by trade, and I knew I didn't want to do that forever. Started a subcontracting company, and like, you know what, this is pretty rough. I'm going to do something else. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Ended up going to law school, and I'm I'm eternally grateful I did. Honestly, like I'm glad I went to law school. But having a JD is super helpful in a lot of different ways. But I never enjoyed being a lawyer. What I did like though was the business side of it. Right, I loved growing the law firm. So I grew and sold two law firms, sold them to big box firms that just kind of bought the book of business. And I was like, I like the hustle, but I don't really enjoy the actual practice. And I represented a lot of realtors for a lot of different things. Like, you know what, I feel like I could do that. So went into real estate, and naturally, when you go from being an attorney to a realtor, everyone that you would have considered your network, your sphere of influence is like, well, clearly he's an idiot, so we're not going to use him. And I lost my whole SOI. Right, the entire network was like, absolutely not. We're not going to use you. So I started from ground zero, kind of starting again. I built that up and did I don't know, about 7 million in the first 6 months of selling real estate, which was just by sheer force of will, like most things. And so I really liked that part, but that opened up a new opportunity where a brokerage I was at was doing very well, but there was a lot of room to grow. And so they were doing about 800 million in sales a year in San Antonio, Texas. And the owner got sick, honestly, and kind of dipped out. And I was like, you know what? I have enough ego to think I could probably do this. And so without asking anybody, I just kind of like moved in his office and became the interim CEO. And after a little while, everyone was like, well, I think he's in charge now. That works. And they eventually blessed it. And over the next 6 years, we took that company from 800 million in sales to just over 4 billion a year in annual sales,
Wow.
which was exciting. But Again, just kind of ran like I felt like my runway was kind of running out on it, right? Like real estate's very tumultuous legislatively, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I was like, I feel like I'm going to do something else. And so I kind of went looking around, wanted to find a new opportunity, got introduced to some incredible people. One of them happened to be the CEO and co-founder of Clearwater. And he's like, hey, he was able on a whiteboard to explain to me in about 10 minutes, this is US healthcare. This is why it's messed up. We're fixing this part. And we've never really gone to market. Would you like to build out our go to market sales approach? I'm like, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. And
Yeah.
so going into it, that's how I got into healthcare. So it really didn't matter for me if it's, wheelbarrows, two by fours, electrical services, healthcare. Like I like sales, right? And I like building
Yeah.
out those systems and implementing. So it was a great opportunity area, and that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think there's a lot of pieces. I know that I have a lot of realtors in my kind of like I call it list, right? That would love to
Yeah.
hear how you dove into that. I think we should take that up at some point in the future. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, there's a lot of different points that I know that someone would go, "Hey, Jack, what the heck? How did you go from A to B?" But it's also really interesting. You're talking about healthcare, health insurance, and I work with hundreds of clients on health insurance, thousands
Mhm.
throughout, my brokerage. But I think at the end of the day, let's be honest, nobody wants to talk about health insurance.
Correct.
That's not like where people are sitting and going, "Tell me all the inner workings. Like how does it work to
Oh God.
file claims and providers? Tell me all about it." Nobody cares. And I understand. I only care as much as it helps make a client's
Mhm.
experience better, right? What I do find really interesting, because I know you personally, so I obviously know how this kind of a question or this line of reasoning would sound or work. But I think the only area and where I enjoy this particular industry is where you widen it by one circle. You don't just like if we were just health insurance, but if we're talking about health, because let's face it, I've had family that I loved my grandpa to death on my mom's side, not so much
Mhm.
on my dad's side, but on my mom's side, loved my
Well,
grandparents
he's
on
not
my
going to
mom's
watch your
side.
podcast, so it's not going to matter.
Honestly, he's 6 feet under, so he ain't paying any attention.
Oh, well, that's extra security.
Makes it so much simpler. But on my dad's side, loved that man to death. Um, but he didn't understand any of the rules about his own body. Like
Mhm.
too much sugar, too much tobacco, too much alcohol equals cancer and you die. And I know that
Right.
that unfortunately is sort of something that I think a lot of people don't actually even know in this country. It's kind of a shocking concept. So if we take it from health insurance out to the area of health, I think then we
Mhm.
start talking about quality of life
Right.
and how someone's health can make or break, or how someone's lifestyle in general can make or break their quality of life or their ability to go out there and live a great life. And I know just from some of the partners that you and I have mutually introduced one to the other that this is an
Mhm.
area that tickles on your side as well, tickles your fancy. So we could talk about Clearwater, but what are like if you
Yeah.
were to dissect it? No, and I don't see that would make any like health insurance again, it's just health insurance. But like going out one tier, there
Mhm.
like you've experienced this probably even more than I have. You go out that one more tier, there are things that people don't know.
Oh, it's wild. Like absolutely wild. It's one of my favorite parts because what most people don't realize, right, is when you look at a health insurance plan they buy in the marketplace, right? And you know this, but some people may not. The reason it always feels like it doesn't quite do the trick is because it wasn't built for you. It was built for 60,000 people, which means it's going to be maybe 70% applicable to your situation, right? But the cool thing about building out employer benefits, especially for, larger groups, is I get to start everything with what I call my bucket of Lego bricks, right? So I've got everything you can imagine, and I find out about new things almost every day, right? Like I literally stumbled on a conversation a few weeks ago where there's a company that can basically guarantee a kidney transplant in 4 months from a voluntarily given kidney, right? Like we can get black markety about it.
So this is not
And
like kidneys are us
This is not a
from,
Bolivian
yeah,
kidney
yeah,
that
yeah.
someone did not willingly give up. Um, and we're literally by implementing that into a plan. It costs nothing, by the way, unless you use it. They're like, you know what? It doesn't cost. Right. It's crazy because they go, look, if we do it, we're going to save the plan $400,000. This person's going to live there. It is literally the difference between life and death
Yeah.
because statistically, most people die on the transplant list. And just by having this one thing, we now not only, I mean, it's always important, like, because the business side of it has to work. Like, not only are you saving the plan money, but you're literally doing it by providing a service that several months ago I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
And
it's unreal.
so now I'm plugging it into literally everything, right? Because it costs nothing.
Right.
And we've got, when you look at, I know we've mutual friends in, like, diabetes reversal and cancer treatment and,
Yeah.
you know, postpartum therapy, which is huge, right? Like all of these things are so, like, I get so excited about it because I get to nerd out on it, in that forever it's always been like, well, to make health insurance cheaper, it has to be worse, which which first of all isn't even true, right? Because it's gotten
Yeah,
worse and
it's
more
a bold
expensive.
bold faced lie. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
like
just
the
awful.
exact opposite.
Right.
How
But we
much of it
found,
is
like,
though the dark side of the industry? Like here,
all of it.
I'm not saying this on like a conspiratorial level, but
Oh,
we are
every
talking
conspiracy you've ever heard is true.
is 100% true. Like these, when you look at things like United Healthcare is the third party administrator, they own the pharmacy
Hmm.
side, so like all the drug side.
Hmm.
They get massive kickbacks for kicking out, like, let's just say only one company's drugs.
Right.
And then they own the hospitals, they own the doctors network. You look at
Hmm.
that and you go, they have found a way to profitize people being sick.
Well, it's the greatest win in the history of lobbying. So the healthcare system, there's a rule, and everyone knows the first part, but they don't know the second part. So the first part is, as a healthcare, so United, a Cigna, an Anthem, Clearwater, right? Anyway, you are not allowed to make more than 20 cents on every dollar as profit that you collect as premium, unless you invest that money in acquiring third-party companies,
Right.
which is why Anthem has, I think, last count, 270 something subsidiary companies.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just, why would you not? Like for us, for instance, we build in one of our plan designs, the Cigna network, because some people just really like having a blue, right? So we have a Cigna network. But the only reason it works for us is because we were able to carve out their PBM, their pharmacy. Well, just by doing that, getting Cigna through us, and this is not a sales pitch, by the way, like other people who do this too, like getting Cigna through us is about 15% cheaper than getting Cigna through Cigna,
Right.
just
Which
because we
doesn't make
carved
sense.
out
You
the
would think
PBM.
that wouldn't be possible.
Right. It doesn't make sense because they're going to collect all and everything. And
Yeah.
so that's the thing that's wild, is I didn't realize how bad it was until I got into healthcare. And then I realized how bad it was, but how entrenched everything is. Like when I think of all of the people I know, like we built an entire, I mean, a well over $100 million value company, right? In annual revenue.
Yeah.
We're not even a blip in comparison to these big monsters, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But the cool thing about that is that I've never worked in an industry where the incumbent is so universally acceptably hated. And
Yeah.
it almost becomes like Stockholm syndrome, right? Because if, as long as you go out there and do anything other than sell the same stuff that everyone else sells, you have a massive marketing opportunity, which is what got me excited.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I would like to even point out with that same thing you're saying. Obviously, there's maybe going to be 5% of people listening here who are going to go, ooh, I'm a big enough company that I can get a Jack Hawthorne to custom build something. And I want to make sure that everyone else thinks of it through this way. That's don't look at it from that angle. And while that's true, those people obviously, Jack and my team can build you an amazing custom product, but that's not the point. Everyone else, we almost like, I'm trying to think of the most recent where that Stockholm syndrome is such a beautifully, perfect analogy, because the amount of clients who I talk to go, oh, I wish I could, afford that Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. Don't look at it that way. Look at it from this angle of, you also have to, even if you like that, you can build a life in such a way that you don't find yourself sitting with them, that you don't find yourself in their hospitals. Not that their hospitals are any different, worse, better than anyone else. The point is this. You just alluded to it just a second ago. There are solutions that you can, companies that have reversed diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that, guess what? The company that owns the pharmacy benefit management, that collects your premiums, that gets a massive kickback on their bottom line for giving you metformin, is not going to sit there and tell you, go get your diabetes cured, because it's a major profit margin point, not just for United, not just for their pharmacy, but their doctors.
Literally everybody.
Across the board.
It's why, like, in order to be different and actually, in order to say you're different and actually be different, you have to be willing to be relatively uncomfortable in most situations, right? Like, I go to these conferences, and I generally sit on panels for like innovative healthcare, right? Or whatever it may be. And most of the time in healthcare, if someone says something is innovative, it just means it's really hard to use, just as a rule. And you're going to have terrible adoption. You got to jump through all these hoops or whatever. And, the thing that's funny is that most of the gatekeeping in healthcare really is just gatekeeping on a price point, because, like, your point that you want to go to those hospitals. Literally anyone can go to those hospitals, right? Like, we build plans where there's no such thing as out of network and in network. It's just go to the hospital, because it doesn't matter. And again, this is not a pitch. Like, a lot of people do this stuff, but people are so used to it. Like, it's the weirdest objection that is hard to take seriously sometimes, but it's probably the most common objection I get in healthcare is, effectively, I'm so used to getting kicked in the teeth every year. The fact that you're not makes me not trust it. And I'm like, that's a really weird argument, but that's effectively what it is.
But it's, it's the best public relations campaign I think that's been done anywhere. You would sit there and you would think, hey, somehow, and I'm sure we could pull up, and I'll have to probably throw sources in here so we don't get, smacked around by YouTube or whoever. But if it were working, don't you think that obesity would be going down, that instances of heart disease would be going down, that all of these numbers would be going down? If it were such a great system, and you inject all of this modern medicine and all the perfection of, health science and hospitals and care, if it were so perfect and if it were so geared to keep you healthy, wouldn't those numbers be going down?
So they would, and that's the thing that I try and remind people is that the United States healthcare system is actually working exactly how it was built. Like, it's not like, I saw a great post the other day. If someone says something's unsustainable every year for 40 years, that means it is sustainable. You just don't like it. And so, like, it's sustainable, it just sucks.
Yeah.
And so kind of the biggest thing from an economics standpoint is that the US healthcare system is not based on outcomes, it's based on transactions. And if it was based on outcomes, then it would look a lot different, right? But at the same time, you look at, again, something like a diabetes reversal company, right? Well, that is a very unattractive offering for anyone who sells GLP-1s.
Right.
And so there are entire companies set up, and it's really funny because I get pitched, as you can imagine, I get cold pitches daily, like dozens. And I probably have, I don't know, 2 or 3 diabetes reversal companies pitch me a week that reach out to pitch, but they're all really just GLP-1 factories. They actually make all their money off of rebates. And
But
so,
did you see that? What was it? Weight Watchers switched from we help you build out meal plans to watch your weight to we sell you GLP-1s.
well, because because here's the deal: human behavior is human behavior. And people
Yeah.
typically try and jump the gun, right? Like the thing that always makes me laugh is, and I used to use this example all the time in real estate, right? Because we had a program. It'll be a different episode where you and I chat about it, but we had a program where I could guarantee a brand new agent they'd make 100 grand a year GCI if they give me 30 minutes a day and spend no money. Well, 5% of people may have actually done the thing I said, but what happens to most folks is they go, okay, I'm out of shape and I don't want to be out of shape. So I'm going to do P90X and a juice cleanse. And you're like, well, shockingly, that didn't work, right? Because you're not building any habits. But if
P90X almost
you,
killed me. Just
it almost
full
killed everyone.
disclosure.
It
That
was a
was
whole season of life.
yeah.
I love and hate Tony Horton and I will forever. So but the idea behind it is that a lot of companies, it's not that they give up, right? But it's like Weight Watchers, like, hey, we've been trying to do this for decades and y'all don't really listen. So let's just sell this, which by the way, when we set up for pharmacy rebates, Weight Watchers will make dramatically more money off of the RX
Yeah.
rebates than they ever would off of their programs.
Yeah. And the tough thing about this is it's tough to argue this on a corporate level because you look at it from a corporate standpoint. I don't know. It's tough because if you go back 100 years, America was a lot less comfortable, obviously. We've found a way to be a very comfortable people. And I don't know that we were made to be that comfortable.
Well, no, I mean, I always think
Especially
of,
health-wise.
right. I think of Wally, the little Disney movie, right? When everyone goes to
The fat
space.
guys, yeah.
Yeah, and
Sitting
like
there
their
thing.
bones are tiny and you're not meant like there needs to be some struggle. That's why the whole
You can tell
like
that Jack and I both have children.
yeah, I know,
That's what
right?
that just did.
But
Yeah.
love them or hate them, but like people like like a Joe Rogan, a David Goggins, just people in general, Jocko Willing, everyone like regardless of everything they say, like the baseline is do something that sucks every day.
Yeah.
It keeps you human, right? It keeps you sharp. It keeps your brain firing the right way. Like every morning, I am furious because I go do cardio and I do a cold plunge every morning. And I
Yeah.
hate it every morning. And when I get out, I'm just like, okay, nothing is going to suck more than that today. So I
I
have
think
my
you need to
baseline.
give the context though. How much weight have you lost in the last what, 6 months? 3 months?
Nah, I don't know. I got up to I was sitting about 185 right now. I got up to 230 at I think the biggest.
Yeah.
Um and I eat my feelings, man. That's just my thing. When
Yeah, you were
I get
chubby
lost.
like I usually am, so I
I got you. I
understand.
just looked like without a
Yeah.
hat, I just looked like a thumb. Like there was no neck. It was just solid. And so I had to take care of that. But yeah, I mean it all works. I'm doing 2 days right now, honestly, just because I'm a big believer that November and December are separation season,
Yeah.
right? And so most people accidentally take off November and December. And so I figure that if I just work like I normally do, I'll get ahead of everybody. But if I double down in November and December, then I put a massive amount of distance between me and my competition. And that has kind of always proven to be pretty true.
Yeah, and there's also little things though. I have so many people that I could compare and contrast to. Let's face it. Let's also, if we were talking about health and keeping yourself out of the hands of, big
Hmm.
carriers and hospitals and the medical system, the medical industrial complex, like it is a
Sure.
full blown industrial complex.
Oh, for sure.
I, I'm no doctor. You're not a doctor. You're a lawyer. No medical degree in this room, but there's no doctor that is not, looking at alternative or looking at base causes that won't just tell you if you can find a way to just eat less sugar. That's not
Right.
going to look at and do anything consistently. Like what you said earlier, where you were talking about P90X and what like beet juice or whatever it is that you were doing. At the end of the day, the problem is not with that kind of stuff or the 75 hard is no one can maintain it.
Right.
And
It's
I
not
can't
sustainable.
tell you it's not sustainable. If you can find something that is even freaking relatively healthy in two areas. And when I say two areas, what I mean by that is if you can find a way to do some kind of exercise in a
Mm-hmm.
week and you can eat relatively healthy or just, find a way to decrease the amount of things that you eat that have more than 3 ingredients. If you can just
Mm-hmm.
do that, you will beat out 95% of people.
Oh,
Just that alone.
conservatively. I mean, honestly, if you could
Conservative
just
numbers,
go,
yeah.
just go for a walk and eat some fruit and eat a little bit less carbs, and like you'll be amazed at how much more regulated and healthy you'll be.
Yeah, and I know that most, if not almost all of my audience are business owners, but a lot of us kind of get caught up in. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. A lot of us get caught up in, like you were saying, big pushes, where
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just hit my business real hard for a little period. And I think a lot of anyone who's found any relative success
Mm-hmm.
understands that consistency is the ticket to beating out
Oh my
anyone
God.
or winning, just winning, period.
Just winning. Well, because winning is just not dying. Honestly, right? Like winning is I love when Simon Sinek came out with the infinite game. Like I love that concept in general because winning is just you just continue to get to play the game. And you get better, right? And you make more, and that's great. You don't go backwards. But it's it's just like I mean I've told people forever, like luckily I had a really honest mom growing up. And she was like pretty early on, like, you're probably never gonna be the brightest guy in the room. So you better like you but you can outwork anyone. And that is something you can control. The problem is that we all get addicted to being busy at some point.
Right.
And like live in like the level of stress that most business owners I know, and you and me included, right? Like it would honestly crush most people. Just our day to
Yeah.
day. Like and sometimes you're in perpetual, well, I say this. The problem I run into with constantly having a push, always leaning in, always doing it, is that you're in perpetual burnout. So while you may be constantly working on your business, you're 40% engaged mentally,
Yeah.
right? Like I found the other day actually, so I'm a big fan of therapy in general, or just whether it's talking to your friends, doing something consistently, having a guys group, whatever it may be. Um, but found that I actually accomplish dramatically more whenever I build out my life by saying, okay, what does it really take for me to get stuff done? Right. So if I work really work, not like, oh, I'm kind of working, right? But if I like work 4 or 5 hours a day and I take a lunch break every day and go to the gym, I go in the morning to do my cardio and my cold plunge. I'm done at 4 to pick up my kids from school. I don't really work in the evenings. I like working on like Saturday and Sunday mornings a little bit just to get organized or dive into like projects or things that I'm more interested in. But even working way less, I've been getting a lot more done, which has been
Yeah.
really rewarding. And I'm glad that it happened because if I was wrong, I would be like, oh, well, that didn't work. I had to go work harder. But this has
Yeah.
been great.
But I think sometimes, and I don't know, maybe since this audience is a lot of small business owners, I think that
Mm-hmm.
might be a workable, take. But for anyone who's sitting there going, yeah, that's awesome for you that you've found a way to work less. But I think the ticket is also, like you said earlier, and I think maybe this is the point to dive a little bit deeper on, is like, it's not a matter of being busy. It's not a matter of how many hours did you log. It's how many hours doing the most important thing did you
Mm-hmm.
do? It's like Elon Musk talking about signal versus noise. It was
Right.
either Elon or someone was talking about Elon, something like that. But signal versus noise is signal is what absolutely has to be done to achieve whatever the stated goal is. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
sitting there going, hey, let's just say, okay, I'm sitting here going, I want more health insurance clients. Okay, sure. I could build out a bunch of social media posts. I could send out all sorts of things like that. Or I could go find where are all of my ideal clients sitting right
Mm-hmm.
now and go build that one relationship that feeds you endless leads,
Right.
right? So once you've found Signal, though, and you found a way to tap into Signal, then to your point, now you can start looking at it and going, okay, how do I take my life and build a life around, achieving that one, staying always on signal, eliminate as much of the noise as humanly possible. And then to your point, then you can find a way to have a balanced life. I think where
Agreed.
people don't
And
have a balanced life is where they've never found signal.
so I'm not a terribly popular opinion. I can appreciate that. I've never really believed in the idea of a balanced life. Like it
Okay.
just, yeah, like I'm, and it may be semantics, but like I'm a big believer in harmony, right? And things
Mm-hmm.
all work together because everything is moving in the same direction. It's all in alignment. But balanced people do not live remarkable lives,
Sure.
for at least from what I've found. And so every high producer I've ever known, we're fundamentally broken in one way or another, right? There's something that's off. And I remember it was an Alex Ramosi clip I saw a while back. He's like, most everyone always looks in the champion or the successful person, like, what do they have that I don't have? No, it's not something they have. It's something they don't have an off button, right? And you're finding that because you're always thinking about it, you're always involved, and that doesn't mean you're grinding until your eyes bleed every day, right? But it means you're always thinking about it. You wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, you think about it in the shower, you think about it in the car, and figuring out, like, I mean, to your point, right? When you figure out what you're the best in the world at, and only, everyone only has maybe two or three things that they're great at, really, maybe one or two things. They can
Sure.
be good at a lot of stuff, but they're great at one or two things. Well, if you're really good at connecting with people one on one,
Legos in Fortnite. Yeah, totally.
done, right? So monetize it. Let's make it happen. And so, can you put billboards in Fortnite? I feel like you should.
You
So,
should.
if let's say you're amazing at connecting people in person, well, you spending, you know, 40 hours a week on cold email campaigns or social is not as impactful as doing a weekly BNI group,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you're going, okay, I have 20 people that are honor bound to give me their business. Great. Done. Like, go optimize that thing that you're good
Yeah.
at, and you will end up spending less time. And there is a huge grind on it in the beginning, just figuring stuff out. But the trick is to let go of the stuff that it's really hard. And I recognize this, and I've struggled with it, and I know everybody has. It's really hard sometimes to let go of good opportunities in order to pursue great opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's where I've seen people in every industry imaginable, but like real estate's probably the number one, is everyone wants to be, they want to be referral based, but they don't spend any time building that referral network, right? It's all after new people. Whereas for mine, I'm like, you give me one number, right? I was doing a podcast with Cody Askins actually, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I got really excited about this. He's like, okay, you got unreasonably excited. Explain that to me. It's when I can get one number, then I can go in any direction from it, right? I know that if I
Yeah.
knock this many doors, if I do this many open houses, if I do this, da da da, I can now control this because I have a conversion number. And so, like, when I got in real estate, a big thing for me, I was like, well, I don't know anybody. I need to know everybody, but I only want to know people that are in the market. So I did 5 open houses a week. Like, that's now my office, right? And I just met people thinking about buying houses. And shockingly, I sold a lot of real estate, right? Because I just met people that were in the market. And so, to your point, I love that. I think it was Kevin O'Leary talking about Elon Musk. The super was on the
Yes.
signal versus thing.
Yep.
Um,
That's right.
is when you find the thing, now go all in, right? You found it.
Yep.
And so just get rid of the distractions, and you're never going to be perfect. But what happens for most folks is they'll spend, if it takes you 10 hours a week to become 90% proficient at that thing, it will easily take you another 20 hours to become 100% proficient, right? Like, that last bit is so much harder. And so you find your natural lid and then go, okay, now where do I go from here?
Yeah. Hermosi says it in a different way. He looks at his team's capacity to achieve any kind of viable goal. And every time he has a great idea, he's like, I come up with enough great ideas in a day to kill my business every single day. Because here's what's happening. You can achieve, the goals that you're working on now, but if you go and start 10 more projects that all are probably amazing ideas, you kill your business. So, but here's another thing that I've found that I think there's a lot of depth to where some of this stuff comes from. But I've also found one of the craziest things that helps keep you focused if you can manage to do it, is turn off the news, turn off the receipt end of social media. It's really easy to feel like your life sort of sucks if you're constantly watching the highlight reel of everyone else's life.
So I am big believer in that. One, I haven't watched the news in almost a decade because
Yeah.
it has very little to do with my life most of the time. I'm also not politically involved, so I'm like, well, I'm not going to do anything about it, so whatever. On the other side of it, I actually have an app on my phone that blocks my social after 15 minutes of use a day because
You're gonna have to send that to me. I'm gonna put that in the
yeah,
in the
it's
description. No
addicting.
question.
Yeah, it's absolutely addicting, and so it's a marketing miracle. But I've given myself enough time every day to post what I need to post, and then if I want to mess around for 5 minutes, whatever, but then it blocks it. I'm done,
Yeah.
and it's over with, and it blocks it till the next day, and it requires a password that I gave to my admin and said, "Don't give this to me unless I actually have something that I need to
Yeah, and
do."
I know your admin. She would tell you to go pound sand if
She
you.
will, yeah,
Yeah.
she'll put her hand on your chest. Like she's not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
play around with.
Yeah.
And so but you got to know yourself, right? Like self-awareness is half the battle. It's what do you do with that, right? Like my favorite joke, like it's a joke, but it's real. And I've said this in front of an audience of probably like 7,000 people one time. And like the audible laugh and gasp, but then contemplative moment it was amazing experience. Look, everyone in here, everyone that I talk to always says, like, if I just had an extra hour a day, I could accomplish all my goals,
Oh
all my
God.
dreams, all my stuff, right? Just an hour a day. Hey, all
Yeah.
right, I'm going to give you an hour a day. It's going to be free. You have to do nothing, like, you don't have to do anything crazy. But here's how you do it. Don't take your phone to the bathroom. If you literally don't take your phone to the bathroom, you will get an
Jack,
hour a
now
day
I
back.
can't have my wife watch this podcast though. You realize
I
that,
know.
right? So
I know.
really
Serious
appreciate that,
stuff.
jerk.
Yeah. You just cut this out, right? That's with that one thing, like all jokes
We
aside,
lost audio
everyone's
is so
like,
weird.
I know, right? Just
Yeah.
but it's wild, right? Because little things like that, like self-awareness is important. But if you don't do anything with it, now you just feel bad. Like that's like I'm not the most like gentle, warm, and fuzzy person in the world, and I get that. But like if you're not going to do like don't step on the scale in the morning if you're not doing anything with the information because now you're just fat and sad.
Yeah.
Like just why bum yourself out?
Yeah. So I love eating. Sorry, I don't know where I was
Well,
going with that.
we know a great type 2
No, I'm just
diabetes
kidding.
reversal company
So,
that
here's what I found out about myself. It was really funny. This is kind of an interesting way to learn how you work as a person when it comes to diets. My mom, when we were growing up, bless her heart, lovely lady, love her to death. One of my closest friends in life. So she would listen to this and probably chuckle. But there, especially during this time of year, she could bake like none other. So what would happen is we'd basically Halloween would be over, and all of a sudden, then therefore, it's instantly Christmas. So
right.
there would be years where she'd be like, okay, I'm trying out our pumpkin pie recipe and I want to make a couple little tweaks to it. So every morning we'd come downstairs and there'd be a brand new, beautiful, delicious, better than yesterday pumpkin pie. And we would scratch our heads as teens and 20-ish year olds and wonder why we had this sweet tooth and were 60 pounds overweight, right? So but what I learned is I'm not very good at regulating that sweet tooth, but what I am okay with is being starving. So, and this is how I learned this. Thanksgiving, not my mom's Thanksgiving, mind you, just full disclosure.
Sure.
This was someone else's Thanksgiving. I ate bad turkey, bad something, bad green beans, who knows? And I spent the next, 3 or 4 days puking my guts out and just didn't eat. I didn't eat. And lo and behold, and at this point, so I'm 240 right now. I'm 6'5". That's the thing that obviously
Yeah.
throws anyone off on camera. They can't tell that I'm an absolute giant.
Yeah. I look like a
But
child
what?
when I talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we only see each other on Zoom. It makes a lot more sense, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
But no. Here's what ended up happening is I'm sitting there going. At that time, I'm 265 pounds, and didn't work out for the second of my late 20s, right? So I'm 260-pound jelly roll. I am not 260-pound like freaking like Dwayne the
Right.
Rock Johnson. No, I'm not. I'm like all chub, no muscle. And lo and behold, I go and eat bad green bean, and next thing you know, I lose 10 pounds in a week. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second, hold on. Maybe like I can do this, which sounds a little unhealthy at first until you go and research, okay, how do I, body ethically not eat? And, in my
Right.
case, I stumbled into just, intermittent fasting. And
Mm-hmm.
that works for me. So I then and this is where we were talking about consistency, for an entire year, I only ate one meal a day. I had dinner. And guess what? At dinner, I ate whatever the hell I wanted. And guess what? I would eat also, I probably would have lost more weight, but I would every now and then have some ice cream or have some whatever. And I went from 265 to 220. I lost 45
Yeah.
pounds and then gained, a good 20, 30 pounds of muscle in the following year and a half after that.
Right.
But I guarantee, like, if you were to see a picture of me 5 years ago, you would legitimately not think it was me. But that's like on two fronts. You got to also know what works for you. And
Right.
what works for me is not carnivore. What works for me is I'm just not going to eat for a couple meals each day. And then all of a sudden it works.
You got to know yourself. Like if I do that, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and eat 10,000 calories, right? Just because I won't think about it. And so I eat like a robot. I eat the same stuff every day. I have the same meal, same lunch, same dinner, same breakfast. And it's my
I'd
macros.
be
I'm good.
divorced
I
if I
like the
did that.
stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. And so we're figuring it out, right? But everybody's different. And that's just, it's not a place I have the willpower.
Hey, and each person's different, and that's okay. But I think that's one thing. Like, if someone were to listen to this and take it away, like, you got to find a way to also evaluate the constant, endless stream of just absurd amounts of data that we have to take in. Like, I heard something like every day more video is published on YouTube than all video published from 1980 to the beginning of time or something like that. Like every day. So there's no way that you can, it's like impossible. There's no way that you can consume all that and think that it's all quality content. So it's sort of like, no matter what, you can't just check out and assume that just because someone is sitting there with a six pack that they are all of a sudden right. So it's just it works the same health. It works the same in business, at least as far as I've discovered. I'm no freaking, I'm not Elon Musk, that's for sure. So there's definitely going to be people who know better than we do, but we have found something that works. Cross my fingers.
You find the concept that works, right? That was I made a commitment to my team several years ago. I was going to read a book a week, and I did it for about 2 years. And at some point, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. Like there's not really a lot of new ideas at this point. Like they're kind of regurgitating each other. And I found those things, right? And like, okay, I have my principles that work for me. And that's how I operate. And so I probably should read more than I do, but I'm a big fan of like YouTube University, right? I go in and learn a lot about stuff. But I'm also a really big fan of being a professional that facilitates conversations with experts. Right. Like if someone asks me about life insurance, I'm like, well, you got to here talk to my buddy Curtis. Right. Like I don't know, but I know someone who does, because I can't be an expert at everything, nor do I really want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And I think that there's value in that, but I think that also goes back to that signal and noise point. Like you got to find what's your specialty and then cut it off at that point. I guess the only point that you like got to not cut it off is if you're like hating what you do, even if you're great at it. But I don't know. We're no longer in an era where you have to live like that. It's just that's not the way life is anymore.
No, and that's like, I think most people forget that everyone that they know of that's hyper successful was considered out of their mind crazy until they were wealthy, right? Because they were good
Yeah.
at something and they doubled down and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down and they leveraged everything else. And they were just a one track person. And that's something that I think most people kind of forget. They're like, oh, these well-rounded people are accomplishing these great things. I'm like, not really. You can be well-rounded. Like, I don't want, like, I think the best example is there's a video a while back of like, what is Jeff Bezos's morning routine? I'm like, I don't care what it is now. He's a like, what was it when
Yeah.
he was
Yeah. Yeah.
building Amazon, right? That's a
Right.
very different thing. And people sometimes forget what it took to build what they built, and they lost families. They lost, years and years of their life on it. Um, but that's what it took in the time.
Okay, but I'm going to say one thing that I think that a lot of people don't really put into the right context is if you can find a way to enroll your family or your spouse in, as an example, it took my wife and I 4 or 5 years of failing epically working together until we found a way that it worked. Like I can't have my wife be my drill sergeant. She can't be the one who makes sure that I get everything done because then I don't want to speak to her, and that doesn't work very well for a marriage. Who knew? But what does work great is we took my work life and split it in half, and she makes sure that all my clients are happy, and she gets to be a nurturing, loving wife.
Hmm.
And you know what's the craziest thing is now, we tag team on other like household functions, and
Hmm.
then I'm not then the asshole who disappears into the office and doesn't spend any time because she's also looking at it going, hey, this is important to
Yes.
what we're doing together. If you can find a way to have your life sort of have that
Hmm.
kind of alignment, then I think sometimes it's not so much it starts to blend between life and work. And I think if you can find a way to do
I
that, that's beautiful.
I think that is the goal. Like in
Yeah.
every sense, that is the goal. It is I think what is hard for most people, and I don't know if you were like this, but you usually find your partner and then you discover your business, right? And so then you're
Yeah.
retroactively trying to figure out how to work together. And I mean, there were some things my wife and I could, like when we were practicing law, I would bring in business and she would be the attorney, right? She loved doing this, like, it's great, great process. Hated real estate with a fiery passion, right? So that one never quite worked out. But you find those balances where you can. I think that's always the goal.
Yeah, I think what ends up being tough is I think that people forget that how many times they've hit like we have so many fears I feel like in life of like if I lose this client I'm screwed. It's kind of it runs through a lot of people's head. And then guess what? When you do lose that client, were you actually screwed? No, you figured out a way to unscrew yourself, right? And I think that sometimes as a result, there's a lot of people who leave things in their life that they could actually change
Mhm.
and do something different. And you'll figure out a way to do it. Like, in other words, you're the causation point. You are not a
Right.
reactionary to what happens in your life. You can cause things and change things. And I don't think that a lot of people remember the times where they've actually done that and they get too, pulled into the times that they didn't, where they got consumed. And yeah, that's a tough one, but that
It
is a
is.
trick.
I mean, there's a lot of hacks, right? Like as much as you can. The amount of internal, legitimate conversations I have with myself are it's maybe unhealthy. I don't know. But things that happen, I'm like, I literally am gonna have to take a little step back and have a chat with myself about this. Like, is this what I actually think it is? Am I over responding? Like, how does this fit in
Take a
my,
day,
you know, in my algorithm,
right?
right? The way that I
Yeah.
process information. And take a moment, right? Take a day, figure it out, think on it, and almost nothing is almost ever as bad as we think it's going to be. And it usually presents just a phenomenal opportunity. There's always an opportunity in crisis. And that's why everyone that works with me is so sick of, they've heard me say it for a decade, but like never waste a crisis. right? Anytime we have a crisis, it is such a massive opportunity to find something new that I almost get excited, which frustrates a lot of people. But it's almost always exciting. There's always something new.
That's where the gems are. Yeah, it's true.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people, I think that this, like, if I could give one piece of even marriage slash business advice, that's the exact same piece of advice used on two different arenas. And here's the thing, like, my wife and I have gone through absolute hell in our life. One day probably I'll want to talk about it openly, but that ain't today quite yet. But there are definitely times where we've wanted to, find ourselves in jail for the things that we want to do that we never do, right? Which is great. But it's taking a walk. And like there's a whole thing below this, but like you pointed out, it's never as bad as you think. But this works with business partners, this works with your spouse. Take a walk. Like, not together, by the way. Like, let's say you're in your neighborhood, you walk one way, she walks the other way. And sure, you might pass each other at some point, but instead of saying all the mean, terrible things that might be running through your head, when you recognize that the thing that you want to say is just going to make a whole new fight all over again, you should probably go take a walk. And the same exact thing in business. If you're sitting there wanting to, end your employee's life or just burn it down with a client because they said something, go take a walk. And you might come back and go, okay, I can take the gem out of what they're saying that I might hate, but might still be true. Like, yeah, okay. Look at it and go, he's right. I didn't actually email him the day that I told him I would. I didn't actually handle that one thing.
That is the root cause, I think, of most conflict in business and in personal life is taking accountability for screwing up sucks. And anytime something bad happens, if we can take that moment or take the walk, right, and say, where is my DNA on this? Like, how is it that I'm involved? What is it that led to this? That you can lie to yourself however you need to, right? Like, how do I learn from this, right? But what it takes you to is like, okay, maybe the person is being an asshole, but I definitely didn't help. I didn't help, right? Or I did this, or I could have done this differently, or I committed to doing this and I may have done 50% of that, right? Or whatever it may be. And it just gives you a lot more clarity because once you can, there's two things, I don't remember where they came from, but one of them is if you don't care who gets the credit, then you can accomplish anything you want. And the other one is like, I I win almost every war that I'm involved in, but I do it by losing every battle along the way. And you just don't, it's probably one of the
Sounds like
hardest
a
things when
Hallmark
people are like,
card.
I know, right? It's like everyone wants to be an executive, right? Like, I want to be an
Yeah.
executive. I'm like, you realize being an executive usually means you get blamed for everything bad and you get credit for nothing good. And so you have to
Executive
be
slash
willing to do
business
that.
owner. That's pretty much the entire role.
You've got to live
Yeah.
there. You don't get all the credit goes to everyone else, even if it was you. Doesn't matter. Credit goes to everyone else and all the blame falls on you. It's a hard, I mean, I hate to break it. Like, I know you have entrepreneurs and business owners, that listen to this podcast. It's the hardest line of work that I can imagine. And I wouldn't choose anything else, but that doesn't mean it's not a
Yeah.
functionally
It's brutal.
bad decision.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. You almost got to wonder, does that make a business owner dysfunctional to be able to do that? Or you also got to look at it and go, hey, unfortunately, for whatever reason, for the last 50, 70 years in this country, and probably much longer in Europe, we've all been taught really just how to be employees. So maybe it's just that the wiring is a little messed up. But yeah, it's true. Like, you gotta, if you can look at it from the perspective and go, let me take ownership for every single thing that went wrong. Everything. Even if they were more wrong. It doesn't actually matter, because I think you know this because you and I are both good with people, but it is almost impossible for an argument to end until someone decides that they're going to sit there and not, cast the stones, but actually own what they did. And the second
Right.
you own what you did, with a client, with a business partner, with your wife, that's when actually resolution is even possible.
And all I can do is control myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, if I get rear-ended, the first thing I do when I get out of the car is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, well, you rear-ended me. Clearly it's not my fault, but I'm going to diffuse the
I
situation
wouldn't.
immediately. Yes, I'm sorry. Great. Great. So, nah, I get it. I love it. I mean, it's funny because a lot of these lessons, unfortunately, we all learn the hard way and we know them, but you still dip your toe into making bad decisions sometimes because we're emotional and that's life, right? But you get a little bit better
Yeah.
every time. And there's a lot of peace that comes from it, which I've been really grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if you're getting bored, then the audience is toast. I'm
I
just
know,
kidding.
man. Goodness
No,
gracious.
and I
I,
know you don't sleep, so that's your curse. You
well,
freaking
apparently I
animal.
saw something the other day that reminded me I'm like a parrot. Like you put a blanket on top of the cage and I just go to sleep, right? Like the fact that it gets dark early now, I like immediately, like at 4 o'clock, I'm just like, oh man, I think it's about time to like turn in.
Yeah, what's the hardest thing in the world is getting back to work after I lay my 6-year-old down. It's like
Oh no, there's no
it's
way.
impossible. It's sheer.
No.
Yeah, I just have to push their bedtime later, which is irresponsible parenting. But in order for me to get work done, there's no other way
Harmony.
for me to operate.
See,
Yeah,
harmony, not balance. They're in on. My kids
harmony.
went to
That's
open
there. You
houses
go.
with me. They've stayed up with me. They've walked properties. Like, hey, there's a hill. Go roll on that hill while I show this property.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, I get it. There's nothing. Yeah, I'm reading the bedtime right now as we're reading the Chronicles of Narnia with my boys. And one, I'd forgotten that those are unreadable books. Like, I understand that they are like a classic, popular, whatever, but they are unreadable. And
Yeah,
so
social
they're
media, man.
really, really boring. And so I read for 30 minutes, sit with them for 5 minutes in the dark. I'm done. There's nothing, I'm
Yeah,
not coming back from
toast.
that. So,
Same
anyway.
here. No, completely understood. And I'm sure we could chat forever, but I don't think that I can even stomach a podcast that goes longer than an hour. So that being the case, obviously we'll get back on, do this again. And unless obviously the algorithm and the audience doesn't like you, Jack, then I'll probably never have you on again. So
I,
I guess,
in the
yeah,
algorithm I
like,
trust.
subscribe, I guess, right? But no, otherwise it's true. There's a lot of things in our work life that affect our health. There's a lot of things in our health that affect our work life. But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of these points probably could be use a lot more digging into. So with that, let's call it.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Sound good? Yeah, always a pleasure. All right, Jack. Take care.